Beyond the Wild.
Welcome back, boys and girls. Boys and girl. So, I guess that kind of gave it away, didn't it?
What's going on? There was no countdown today.
Yeah, there was. That's because your internet is boggy.
Really?
So,
out of the zone here.
Thanks for bearing with us over the last few weeks, by the way, everyone, because we have been having some serious technical difficulties trying to get guests on and even just trying to share ourselves. I'm not sure what's going on with the old Riverside app, but we have been struggling. But it appears to be working now. So welcome back, fellas, to a special. So this started with the old podcast, and we've kind of carried it over last year, being the first year, and we're going to carry it over this year again, special edition for Mother's Day on Beyond the Wild. So glad we could all be here actually today, and special guest who we've had on this podcast before, but given some comments that she made in responses to questions. Welcome back, Lisa Connor.
Hello, thanks guys for having me. Thank you.
Oh, he's out. That's okay. It's great to see you again. And as far as our guests, that the Riverside, the hiccups with the software has been some video and audio stuff, but we're working through it, and JG's been a wizard on the production side too for that. So coming through, always fun. Lisa, it's great to see you again. I've been enjoying following your work on your Instagram pages and looking forward to chatting about what your photography world is like this spring. And talking about, I remember keenly from the podcast that we did about how wonderfully you include your children in your photography and some of the elements that way. So there's a lot we can dive into about that and about Mother's Day. But how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me on the show again for Mother's Day. Yay! Things have been great. I'm happy it's spring. Finally, we actually had a winter this year. Didn't really get out a whole lot for the winter months, but now that spring is around, we're trying to venture out and get the kids out into the forest and see what we can find. Yeah. So far, it's been great.
It's been a wonderful spring. It's progressing along. More birds coming back all the time, and more macro opportunities, right? With sprouting plants and insects returning and stuff or emerging. That's on your ON_explorer, right? Is that the Instagram page for people to see your macros?
It is. Yeah, you got it. On_explore. My goal this spring, I kind of thought about it over the winter, was to get out as soon as the spring ephemerals started popping up. And I want to document how they start sprouting, how the leaves start forming, how the flowers start budding, and trying to document the insects that kind of flock to those. So yeah, it's been nice because doing that type of photography, I'm able to kind of grab the kids and we go out, and I think I mentioned this before. I'm lucky to have them because they tend to see things more than I do. So we spent the last week camping. We took them out of school and did a little bit of bird watching, a lot of spring ephemeral searching for. So it was actually a really good week for it. And I've got lots of images that I'm excited to share. And I think I've posted some on that Instagram page as well. So yeah, it's been exciting.
And just to be clear too, I know JG puts it up on our YouTube for our viewers there. They'll see this page of Lisa's we're talking about on Instagram, but for audio listeners, it's got a D on the end. So ON for Ontario, which has got tremendous diversity of habitat and wildlife of all kinds in the province here. And then it's _explored with a D on the end if you're listening on audio platforms. something that I love about spring. Have you done, and this is something that harkens back to our good friend of the podcast, Tim Irvin, when he's been on, and just recently having a call with him about, he did a post too. Have you done vernal ponds with your kids? Have you gone looking at salamanders and such?
You know what, that was one of my goals, and it didn't. We didn't get to the ponds, unfortunately. I think I kind of missed that window. I was in school, just kind of finishing up some things, and yeah. So I actually ended up buying a GoPro because I was hoping to kind of delve into the ponds there to see if we could find anything, but I didn't make it. But the parks that we usually frequent, we're able to just kind of, move a little bit of logs here and there and just kind of see what's under. So they have found some. They found some in previous years. But yeah, no, I missed it. I missed it.
Is it over?
Actually, I haven't. I don't know. I was going to say I haven't heard any spring peepers.
They're up
I'm concerned.
there. Oh, I see. No, they've been making a racket around, and it's such a wonderful sound in spring. I was at a
Mm-hmm.
friend's near Guelph a couple of weeks ago, and they were very loud, and we've heard them here. But I think the vernal ponds, go for it. There's still a chance
Okay.
they'll be out, the
Okay.
salamanders. Tim was saying if on his feed he found some even in daylight, but at night with a headlamp, if there's somewhere safely accessible that way with the kids, then it's fun to find salamanders. I only ask because it's something I have not done that I would love to do macro wise, but
Yeah.
I have as a kid turned over hundreds of logs for those reasons and put them back, of course. But looking for
Yes. Yeah.
salamanders, but
Yeah.
it's because they're such cool creatures, especially for children. I think they look cartoonish, right? It's something to see them, and it really engages a child's imagination into nature. Is one thing for me, anyway.
Yeah.
Hey,
Um,
Lisa,
yeah.
quick question.
Yes.
How old are your kids?
So my oldest is 8 and my youngest is 6.5. So they're about 19 months apart, full of energy, and they love outdoors, love nature. They love discovery. Yeah. So we started taking them out when they were little. I used to take my oldest out in a carrier. So he's been out from the moment we were able to kind of carry him around, and same with my youngest. So they have been learning from us to, just get out and flip things, and they don't go too far off the path because we don't like to encourage that, but they will. If there's logs on the side, they'll flip them. And the one thing is they have no fear. They have no fear of grabbing anything. So they'll both, of course, gently scoop up the salamanders, some of the potato bugs, some of the centipedes that are, I don't know, I'm not really good at that. Toads, frogs, snakes. Yeah, they love it. They love it. So that's why it's been really exciting this time of year to get them out. And, now that the insects are starting to come out, they don't have any fear of bees, which is great because growing up I did. So I'm just trying to teach them all of those things that, we need all of these insects and they all play a role.
Hmm.
And they're just very gentle. They're gentle with insects. They're gentle with flowers. Yeah, it's so great. I'm pretty proud of that because sometimes they're, a bit crazy. They're boys, but yeah, when it comes to nature and looking after things, they're really caring, and hopefully they'll continue.
Yeah, I just wanted to go back because it kind of got glossed
Yeah.
over in your initial comments. You were talking about taking them out of school, and
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know. Is it taking them out or is it taking them to school? That's the
Yeah.
question. Getting them out there, and the losing touch with that is, I'll just keep saying it. It's one of our biggest issues: losing touch with nature and the knowledge of wild things. And
Yeah.
so I appreciate what you and your husband did, getting them out and going doing some real hands-on learning.
Yeah, I'll elaborate on that a little bit more. We've always kind of toyed with the the idea of outdoor school. We have a few schools in the area and I guess across the province where kids will go and they will be outside all day, rain or shine, winter, summer, and they learn all of those things. So, we, did take them out of school and thought that, what better way to learn than to just get out of the classroom and, just get into the forest and start finding things. We live in the area of the Carolinian forest. So myself, as well as them, are trying to learn more about the biodiversity and the plants and all of the things that are in our area. So that's kind of where our focus was this week. However, I did ask the teachers for a little bit of schoolwork, so they were able to kind of do that on their own and catch up. So when they do go back tomorrow, they'll be still caught up. But yeah, being out in the fresh air is nothing really much better than that.
It's funny you mentioned that, and there's a photo on your page, and I don't know if maybe you're trying to be a little bit more intentional about this lately, but I love, and I know it was taken with your iPhone, but it doesn't matter. It's a storytelling image, and it's of that garter snake with one of your boys in the background. You can tell their boots are back there on the trail, and it kind of just tells the story of them finding that snake on the trail, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Anyways, I think that's a cool photo, and then there's another one that's the last post you just made, or maybe it was it was March 8th, so it might be a pinned photo. But yeah, it's a pinned one. But of the trees with the ceiling of the treetops and the one right there close angle with the wide angle lens and the boy's arms around the tree, right? I think that's a pretty cool image. Anyways, it just seems like maybe you're being a little bit more intentional about trying to, include them in some of your photos in a way that kind of tells that story. Anyways, if it maybe, I don't know. If not, I think you're onto something. So.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'm trying to be a little bit more intentional with that. My oldest hugging the pine tree was definitely intentional. I had a really great class of sustainability, and there was one image in one of the slides, and I think I added that in the post about this person that's hugging this tree, and for me it just really hit home. So my son's always willing to try to do things like that. So we're like, I saw the opportunity of the trees lined up and it was perfect. So I worked with it a little bit and got him to do that. Well, I didn't get him. He volunteered to help. But yeah, and that's my same son with the garter snake. They are both, they love snakes. They love them and they find them all the time. So that picture was actually by accident. I had flipped my iPhone upside down so I could get the angle going up at the snake on the middle of the trail. And he just happened to be standing there. And usually I'll tell him, just move over a little bit, get out of the background. And I thought, no, it was perfect. He had his winter boots on. It's not winter, it's spring. He loves those boots. And he was the one that actually grabbed that snake and was holding it and looking at it and just really appreciating it. So yeah, thank you. I appreciate that because I really enjoyed that and captured it with my iPhone, which I was surprised at. Usually those images are kind of out of focus when they're close, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really neat image. I think, I really do think you're onto something there, as far as maybe telling more of that story. I know it's something you're very passionate about. And I really like the way both those images look. And I was kind of flipping back, looking for other examples of it. I didn't come across any like real recently, but regardless, those are really nice images. I mean, all your photography is awesome. I enjoy following along and watching, the stories you're telling with your photos and that. But those really grabbed me for some reason. Anyways.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. Thank you. I think I will try and work on that a lot more because in my images, you can't really tell that the kids are with me. Like, yeah, of course, there's some images that the kids are not with me. There would be no way I would get a pintail with the kids. They would just, ducks are skittish and it wouldn't happen. But a lot of my images, they are there. So I would like to try and do more of that just to let, it can be possible. And it's lovely to share the experience with them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I love the comments Ron made too. We all have talked about it before, but taking your kids out into nature, I think all of us have talked about, having our kids skip school, quote unquote, to go spend time in the wilds, with us in different capacities. Doesn't matter if it's camping, hunting, hiking, photography, whatever it might be. There's an education to be had there for sure.
Yeah.
And it's as valuable, if not more invaluable, than the other stuff that they might be involved in for a short break. So
yeah. And what I'm realizing too is the more that we take them out, they pay attention. They might not necessarily tell you at the time, but later on down the road, or a few months, or even we've had them pop things out of their mouths a couple of years from an experience that they had, and they do pay attention. So it just makes us feel that all of this outdoor activities is really working out, and they're paying attention. So yeah, we're going to keep doing it.
Very cool. Sorry, Ron and Mike, or Mike. I did it again with him here. Sorry, Ron and Mark.
Before. What?
No, I don't know what he's talking about. Oh my gosh.
Oh geez.
I don't know.
JG.
I'm just going to go shed a tear for a moment. I love Mike. Nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all. I don't know. It just is there today for some reason. Yeah. So,
okay.
Mike, maybe I'm missing you. I don't know, buddy.
Mark
and Ron, sorry, I didn't mean to take over there a bit.
That's awesome. Everything you said was bang on, and I love the perspective that you share with that, recognizing that. Your images are fantastic, Lisa, on both your Instagram pages. And the other one, again, it's formality, but I just want people to be aware of it, is Why Mustang 5 is Lisa's other Instagram page, with a mere 13,000 awesome followers. So congratulations. It's warranted. Should keep growing from. I love this, the shallow depth of field that you work with often, the great bokeh and the low perspective with your subjects, the warm light. You've got a fantastic eye, truly.
Thanks.
The variety of subject matter. But on what Jason was saying, with your children in the images, I don't want to necessarily talk about it too much on the podcast, but as far as where to go with them. But if you were ever interested editorially, I think there's great opportunity for you there. There's a handful of publications that I've worked with that could be interested in that kind of storytelling. And for photographers, one of the things that's most successful are the photographers that can create a story with their images, marry it with an editorial content. And that for the publication world, that's the magic recipe, because it's an all-in-one package, right? And the storytelling along with the images. And I think that your quality of work and the inspirational story that you can tell with your children, the motherhood, the parenting, getting them out, and the importance of that, even the subtleties, that would be a great anecdotal element to a story, saying, it registers with them because weeks, months, or even years later, they'll bring it up. They may not have the next day, like you say, it's there.
Yeah.
These are real experiences that we all remember, the most memorable ones. We don't remember all the, TV shows we saw or the screens. I mean, there's some recollection, but they don't stick like experiences in the outdoors. And as Jason was so eloquently saying, this could be a wonderful niche for you, because of the caliber of your work and the storytelling you could do along with it, that could motivate a lot of people and remind them the importance of this connectivity, like Ron said, to the outdoors, that our children are so many children are lacking now, unfortunately.
I would definitely be open to that. The storytelling part, I think I would have a little trouble. I'd need some coaching, but I know there's some really great people out there that could help with that.
I don't think you need much.
No. Oh, thank you.
I think if you just kept taking the photos you've been taking with trying to include the kids in those elements, it feels very natural. I know the one with the tree, your son hugging is a recreation in that, and there's nothing wrong with that either, right? But in my mind, and it's not necessarily easy, I don't think, but I don't know, I've been thinking a lot about this lately. My passion is wildlife, but I
Yeah.
love taking photos, and I love to
Yeah.
try to tell a story with my photos, right? And I think that's how we all are. And my passion's in wildlife, but I'm really starting to spread my wings a little bit and trying to try some different niches, and trying to
Yeah.
go outside of my comfort zone, if you will, and try to tell different types of stories with my photography. And it's nothing that I've really shared, on my Instagram or anything at this point, because that's not
Yeah.
what my Instagram's about. But I mean, I think that's the trick, is finding something, a story that you can tell. And, I know we've talked a lot in your own backyard, which you are literally doing. And there's a great story there to tell. There's no question. And the fact that you are, I think it's such an urgent issue with our children nowadays, and the way they're being raised on screens and devices, and to have them get away from those things and experience nature. And you being a mom that has a camera and has a passion for photography, that's giving you that connection, and through you and your camera giving your children that connection. I think that's an incredible story to tell. Anyways, I know I'm droning on and repeating myself, but I just really think that's a cool opportunity. It's got me thinking of ways maybe I can try to do some similar things with my own grandkids. So.
No, that's great, Jason. Thanks for sharing that. I share that same passion. I love wildlife, and I started with landscape and waterfalls, and then I went to birds, and then I think I talked about getting the macro lens when COVID, and then I fell in love with that, and then it's like it just kind of changes, and and then I went to plants, and now I want to document insects on plants, but I want to catch the birds. And my kids are all a part of that. It doesn't matter what genre I'm photographing, whether it be, I'll still drag them out to waterfalls if we've had a good rain. It's like, come on, guys, let's get in the car. Let's go to the waterfall. I know they love to be there. I love to be there. And then, on the way, there's mushrooms, there's, insects that are cool. They're flipping logs, and, we get a little bit of everything. I know one time we were down there was like a flurry of kinglets. And I thought, I didn't bring my telephoto lens. I've only got my macro and my landscape lens. So yeah, it's fun. That's the thing. It's just taking pictures of everything. It doesn't just have to be one thing all the time. And yeah, keeps it interesting. Love it.
Yeah.
And they love it. They love it too.
And Mark, you were, so graciously explaining where they can get to her other page. And actually, I don't know. I mean, you can link directly to it on your YM Mustang or Y Mustang 5 page, I think.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Did I say that right?
Yeah. Yeah, you got it.
So, but I don't, do they both link to each other? Like, is there a, okay. Yeah. So if you found any one of these from the show today, you can find her other page as well. So. And I didn't even know your other one existed. I feel kind of bad now. I'm over here.
No, that's okay. I love that. It's a tiny little page.
Stuff.
It's a tiny page. I love it.
Yeah.
It's all of those images that, I love Instagram. I love social media. I love seeing people's images. I love seeing how they create and their visions. So I think because I've spent so much time on Y Mustang 5 doing a lot of bird photography, like over the years. And then I started switching to insects. I thought, I've seen horses in fields or, moody images that have nothing to do with wildlife. And I thought, well, that's not going to really fit on this page. So I started the other one a few years ago, actually. It wasn't until maybe about a year ago that I really started trying to add to that and just keeping, little bits of plants and insects. And yeah, I have some ideas for that page. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, but yeah, that's I love it. It's a tiny page.
It's a tiny page for tiny things.
Yeah. And that jumping spider was in the hallway on my mirror in my apartment. I had my macro lens set up. So I just, shot that in the hallway. Don't ask me how I did it. Sometimes I'll just get images and they work out. But yeah, that one worked out.
It's because you're trying. That's how.
I'm trying. Oh, I
trying
love it.
New things.
Trying.
Yeah. Yep.
You're trying.
Was that all just? Sorry,
you have a gift. You do.
Yeah,
when you look at
sure.
the variety of compositions that you've pull off. You have a real talent and gift. It's
Agreed.
Thank
wonderful to
you.
see on both these pages. I love the jumping spider, but there's so many other elements on these pages too.
Thanks. Thank you.
It's funny. I think I've always wondered, I've always kind of mixed it up. I'll throw in some landscape stuff that I do, and I'm by no means a landscape photographer. I'm a wannabe for sure, but I love to try. And so when I go out and I think I've captured a good image, I'll throw one on there, and it's my wildlife page. And I've always wondered, should I separate and create a different page? But I don't know. There's people that do that very distinctly. It's, hey, this is lifestyle, this is landscape, this is photography. This is wildlife, landscape, drone photography, or whatever mix you might have, right? But I don't know. I've struggled with that. Should I just keep it all in one, or should I mix it up and try to be distinct? I'm sure there's various reasons to do that. But what was your thinking on mixing those up and starting two different pages? I'm just curious your thought process there.
Yeah, I think it was just that, I built up the audience that wanted just birds, and, but I don't know, there would be some images like the garter snake with my son in the background. And I'm like, you know what, this image, means so much to me that it needs to go on that. I want to share that on that page with the audience.
Right.
Yeah. And I sometimes preach that, you know what, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It's your page. You post what you want. These are your creations, what you love. So I do battle. I'll be honest. I do battle with that sometimes, but then I'll go on a tangent of, photographing a whole bunch of flowers, and people don't, I don't know. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. Maybe I don't want to see it on my page. I don't know. It's tricky. But then the same thing with landscape. I'll throw in a landscape there just to let people know that I do other things and I have other interests. So yeah, I think it's great. I think people should do that. Definitely.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong answer for sure.
Yeah.
And I think you've alluded to the struggles that all of us think about when we start doing that.
Yeah.
And I think my hesitation, quite honestly, is more along the lines of what you just said. My audience was grown with my wildlife, with elk and ungulates and waterfowl and stuff like that. And quite often they probably don't want to see a waterfall or a drone photo. But I've just gotten to a point where I'm trying to be more of like, just don't really care, and if you don't like my stuff, liking my page, then you can always hit the unfollow button and stop liking my photos. I'm kind of at that point with social media. So I go back and forth though. It's like, well, if I'm really going to get into this other thing, should I start a new page, so I'm not ticking off the other followers or whatever, but yeah, anyways, I don't know. We all go through the same struggle, I think. So I think it's cool that you started a different page. And I guess my point would be to hopefully, the folks out there that have an interest in that can find it. Cause it's both your pages have incredible stuff on it, and it deserves to be seen. So
thank you. Yeah. That, drone photography is pretty cool. I haven't dabbled with that, but yeah, some people will, they'll post, what do you think this is? And it's like, you're completely way off. And it's some, amazing landscape with that different perspective. That's just, I love the treetop ones. I've seen some really cool ice drone images. I mean, I would like, if I could do it, I would love to just maybe throw my kids in there somewhere. Where's Waldo?
Right.
Yeah. Not that they're Waldos, but
no, I know what you mean.
I could have some fun with drones and kids.
Let them photograph themselves while they're flying the drone,
Yeah.
It's a tough one to decide with the page business, because I've done that a bit. When I put up something else that doesn't feed the algorithm, it's clear the numbers are 10%, right? It's just not showing. So that was my motivation to start other pages with different content, because you might as well start from scratch for the lack of traction that different content is received because of the algorithm. But yeah, it's a challenge to grow a new page as well, right? Especially
in today's environment, right? Unless you're going to be doing videos and reels content, you're going to have a really hard time finding that niche audience for that type of stuff. It's a real struggle for sure.
I think with the smaller pages, you tend to, I have amazing followers, like all of them, but I find that with that different page, I've got a smaller group of following who appreciate the differences, and actually there's a lot of them too, like yourself, that has said, oh, I'd love to do that. I'd love to just start over, and not have that pressure of, feeding thousands or hundreds or however many, you know. Yeah. It's just
Yeah.
it's more intimate, and yeah.
Yeah. It's funny you said that. I've thought a lot about that. It's like, okay, so let's just use Mark. Well, let's use Mark's page, for example. Mark, how many followers do you have on your page? On your main page?
40 some thousand.
And on an average image, how many likes do you get?
And they're all, well, it was all legitimately built, but I
Yeah.
know they don't all see the images.
No. I understand that. But work with me on this. I can
Okay.
use my own page.
I know where you're going. Okay, sure. The likes are about a quarter of what they were 4 or 5 years ago when I had 10,000 followers.
Right. Okay. There you go. You just walked. Yeah. So, and I think a lot of times you wonder if you look at engagement, how engagement's measured. I don't know all the metrics on Instagram or the social media stuff, but, I think it might be better, Lisa, to your point, to have a small core following who are all engaged
Yeah.
than to have, 100,000 followers and, 2% of the people are seeing your stuff. What's the point,
Yeah.
So I often wonder, how often are we even ourselves getting caught up in the algorithm and trying to feed the social media beast, whatever that is, and to what end? You know what I mean? I've really thought a lot about this lately. I've quite honestly stopped caring if my page grows or if followers leave or come. Honestly, I'm not, anything I do anymore is not to try to feed an algorithm. It's not to try to, grow it or whatever. If people want to see my stuff, they'll find it hopefully, and they can do it. And I'm definitely not the guy that's doing reels and content creation. Now, saying that, Mark, and I know you probably have a lot to say about this, because I think some of us are doing that, and there's nothing wrong with that either. It's because some of us are doing this full time, and it's part of our marketing strategy, and it's part of our business model. And I think in those cases, it is important, to try to make sure that you're maintaining and growing a page and spreading the word on your content, for sure. So I'm not trying to be the guy that's, going negative on folks that are trying to feed the algorithm, so to speak. I'm just at a point in my career with my lifestyle and what I'm doing that I've just stopped really caring for now. And maybe I want to retire early, quote unquote, from the corporate world. Maybe when I get to that point and I'm trying to chase the photography thing more, I probably will care more and start trying to do that again, right? But anyways, I'm not trying to make this about me at all. I'm just trying to, I think that it's important for us to all think about this, about what we're doing with social media and what our purpose is and our reasons are, and why are we doing the things we're doing with social media? What's our goal, right? So I think and I think you've touched on that with what you're doing it for and why you're doing it. But
The sharing, they love the sharing. And even, let's say the followers is, might be 4 times what it was 5 years ago. The same core is there. It's the same friendships, the same 100 people that interact all the time, irrelevant of how much the page has changed. It's those core people that have become friends on socials and then meet in real life often and become friends and in kindred spirits. That's the heart and soul of it for me that I enjoy. There are followers all around the globe that will never have any interaction on the page with anybody with any amount of following, even like 1,000 followers. They're not all seeing it and they're not all interacting, but all the people that interact and comment and over the years with any of the pages, it's appreciated and develops friendships, and some have become really great friends because of that. And so I appreciate that aspect of it. But yeah, the business side's a whole other podcast, and in a sense that it is the platform for show and tell, and how to grow that. It's still the same way. It's still finding other nature photographers, people passionate about wildlife and nature, and interacting with them to get engagement and then following each other's pages versus somebody on the other side of the planet, Australia aside, of course, that never have any interaction with what we do here, right, on the ground. But I'll save that for another time. It's a fun thing to psychologically try and work around the social world that way. But the interaction is the heart of it with those that have been there all along. And sometimes there's new. Like, let's say every year there's another 15 or 20 people that become friends because of it, that you interact with. And so that's great. And one thing I remember about when we had you on last time, Lisa, that I thought was really cool was that when you are out with your children, you're exploring nature, you're finding things, but you're not only guiding and teaching them, but you're learning mutual things at the same time, which I think will inspire the children, make them feel bigger. They're learning this well mom did or well dad did it. So when you find a new plant or a new bug and you photograph it, you mentioned you come home and then you look it up together and you research it and learn about it. That full cycle, I think, is awesome.
Yeah, I could give you an example of that. So we were at one of our provincial parks this weekend, and my oldest son and I went down a path. It wasn't marked or anything. We're like, oh, should we go down here? But we did. And there was an enclosure where they have fenced off the deer. So there was a sign explaining why they had blocked it off. And it was to preserve, young maples, trilliums, and, the yellow trout lily because of the deer eating them. So my son and I talked about that. And then it also mentioned that Japanese barberry was one of the plants that was becoming a problem in this park. And why it's a problem? Well, because the deer won't eat it because it's got thorns on it. So now he knows how to identify a Japanese barberry, which I didn't really know. Well, I know now, just having the education that I had, but he knows forsythia, and forsythia is yellow in the spring, and he's learned some of the ephemerals. So it was nice that that was one of the pivotal things that happened while we were away and why we went away. And he remembered that. So yeah, kind of exciting. And that's the same thing too, is I'll take photos of it and we'll come back and we'll talk about them. My youngest, he's getting there. He's interested, but he's still pretty carefree and, but yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. We've got our Southern Ontario native plant books and really, really trying to focus more on the native plants and, what their roles are. And same thing with the invasives. I mean, they didn't ask to be here. They were brought here, which I had a really impressive professor remind us of that. And it really hit home that these plants weren't asked to be brought here, as well as the insects. They were brought by us. So we have to remember that.
Lisa, going back to a comment that you just made in kind of, I guess, to tail off of the social media conversation and bring it back to motherhood. First of all, do your kids notice when they're on social media? Do you show them that? And then second, part B of the question, just in case I get in a coughing attack again.
Yep.
And can't get back on here. So part B, did they have any interest in picking up the camera at all?
The social media part with my kids, that's a great question because I've battled with that myself. Sometimes some of the stories I'll actually include a photo, but I'll usually do it with just like closer photography friends that instead of the general audience. I do have a personal account, kind of much like a Facebook, where I just share them. But I think for my main accounts, I'll just kind of, use the image of my son's hands or just kind of blur them. I've had that great discussion with a really good friend of mine. And she's like, no, my kids, now that they're older, they don't want to be on her social media. And, when they're younger, they're not going to tell you because they don't understand. So that really kind of hit me. And I was like, wow, I should take that into consideration, and maybe not take that away from them and let them choose whether they want to be on there. And yes and no. We bought them a little toy camera, and they had a lot of fun taking pictures of themselves. So I guess yes, but not so much nature. I do have a couple cameras. Well, I keep all my gear that are set aside for them when they do decide. Hopefully they do. If they don't, that's okay too. But at least I'll have that equipment for them if they decide to follow that route. Yeah.
It's a fun thing to share. I hope they do with you. And some of my most fond memories are with my children on trips. And as they get older and bigger, their perspective change, their focus change, their capabilities physically and attention wise change.
Mm-hmm.
And it's wonderful as a parent. And I can imagine as a mother to watch those transitions happen, and what you'll be able to share with them going forward is super exciting, and taking every minute of it, because it gets faster and it blurs by, but there's more and more possibilities. And the fact that you've planted this seed at a young age and made that a part of their lifestyle should hopefully make it ingrained in something they're comfortable with and doing and exploring more, whether it's, future canoe trips in Algonquin,
Mm-hmm.
and into backcountry lakes or other opportunities that will broaden their horizons and teach them so much.
Yeah, we've talked about getting the canoe because we would love for them to learn how to canoe. Um, they'll take the kayak and the stand-up paddleboard out, but there's just something about that canoe. So yeah, maybe one day. We've planned some trips up north. I think we talked about this last time. I love the north, and we're trying to go further a little bit here and there. But yeah, I think we're going to head up past Kirkland Lake this summer and see what we can get into. None of the backcountry camping, but just up into the boreal. And yeah, and they like to explore, and that's the one nice thing about when you're in the city. You don't want them to explore. I mean, I do, but it's a bit different in the city. But out in wilderness, it's like just be free, be safe, but be free and go see what you can find. And they ask so many questions that it challenges me. I'm like, oh geez, I don't know what made you think about that. Oh well, I don't know, I just saw something or I heard something. So yeah, we're always learning. Love it.
It keeps it keeps our brains fresh too, right? Because we don't. Can you guys, that we're when they
Yeah, it's
ask these
true.
questions, because we're always. I mean,
Yeah.
I know we get in. Myself personally get in these perspectives and what we're used to, but it's so refreshing when a child asks a question out of left field that
Yeah.
just opens up a pause, and like you say, why did that come up, and then how you answer it. I mean, it keeps us young. Socialization is so important. I think educating kids helps keep us young, answering those questions and being playful
Mm-hmm.
with that. I think as adults is and now as as grandparents that we three are here, it's a whole new chapter that's like refreshing. It's like fresh air to go back to playing with kids and just laughing and getting such joy out of a laugh from the
Yeah.
children, and then teaching them. And my grandson is only not quite two, but I can't wait to the point where, well, just explore and show him stuff all over again. We did it with our
Mm-hmm.
children, which was magical. And at this stage, a wonderful blur, but to have an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to do it again is wondrous and exciting. Without, in all honesty, I think most grandparents will feel this way without the total 24-hour childcare responsibility, right?
Yeah. Well, it's like you
That's
say, though.
definitely a bonus.
My husband and I talked about that while we were away about just the playfulness. Just We had done, I think we walked 10 kilometers down this one long trail, and the kids are riding the bikes. One of them fell and scraped, and he was done. And we're like, okay, well, let's just keep going. We made it to the beach, and it's like, it's all rocks. So there we were, an hour and a bit later, just looking at rocks and enjoying the delight in their eyes. It's like, hey, mommy, hey, daddy, look at this rock. It's green. Or, hey, look at this one. It looks like it's got a fossil. So we forgot about how much fun that playfulness is when you finally get out into nature and can enjoy that. Yeah. So it's a lot of fun. And there's times too, I think, I think about when they were younger. I'm like, oh, I wish we would have done this with them. Or, there's always that, what if we could have done this, or what if we went here? So it must be nice having that chance again with grandkids to go back and be like, oh yeah, I remember I wanted to do that with my kids. Now I can do it again.
Absolutely. It's very exciting. And my kids are welcome to come anytime too, by the way. Yeah. Just letting that out there. With the canoe stuff, if you go camping somewhere like Algonquin, there are outfitters that you can just rent their canoe for the weekend. And if you pick a site with a nice water access, you could make that part of that weekend's trip for them too.
Yeah.
August, when the bugs have subsided and the water's warm and everybody can enjoy it.
Yeah, that's the thing. We've booked our trip in July, and it's like, oh yeah, the bug's going to be gone by July. Probably not. So we do have bug suits. We'll be all gowned up in bug suits in the canoe.
Okay, you're going to do it. Nice.
What's your little dragonfly buddy, Mark?
Oh,
yeah.
The boys would love that.
My office in the car, I can run right grab it. Yeah, it was something. It was even called something like that. It's easy to find.
It is.
Yeah, so good call.
Yeah.
That's something you could get and all of you use, even if the bugs are. Yeah. Apparently, they work pretty good. So
I've heard that they work pretty good. Thank you for the reminder. We were just we were at one of the local stores, and they had a whole bunch. I can't remember the name of them, but there it was with the little thing.
Pilly, my wife, wore hers kayaking last August on a camping trip, and it would attract other dragonflies, and it sometimes attracts birds. So you have to watch that too.
Oh,
because you don't.
Not the birds.
Yeah. Well, you don't want them.
Hey, now you're onto something. Maybe we could wear them for migration, and we'll attract the birds.
Get them.
A good idea.
Buzz in the tower. Just clip it to your lens hood.
Yeah, there you go.
So I would like to publicly, we're talking about all these boys in the wild. I'd like to publicly ask for an apology for my daughter, because I had one request, is that when my grandson started to potty train, that I'm the one that got to teach him to go outside. And just turned 3, and I get a picture from my daughter today.
Oh.
And she violated that verbal contract.
Sacred right.
Yeah. So this is about you, Lisa, but I do want an apology from my daughter.
Love it. I remember those days. Yeah. It's like we would get halfway down a trail, or we would just start, and I gotta go. It's like, find a log.
Yeah. Exactly.
I have a story that I really wish I could tell. For you, Andrew, I'm not going to tell it. But it was a great memory.
Later.
It was winter. Anyway, yeah, fun stuff. Kids are awesome, and engaging them this way and including them in your photography and learning is outstanding. Can you quickly remind me? I don't have a macro lens anymore. When I started photography, I bought this series of lenses that would accomplish different things. And I had a 200 millimeter Nikon macro, which was outstanding, but it was manual focus, everything old school, because it was a few years ago. And your images are just beautiful. Quickly too, I wanted to add to this, or at least bring it more attention to it. The iPhones do a lot of amazing things, but your pro tip, flipping it, is a big deal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you
Yeah.
turn it upside
It's great.
down, right,
Yeah. Yeah.
the low
Yeah.
perspective really changes the game for that
Yeah.
what 4-inch height. It's
Yeah. You just flip it upside down so the lens is closest to the ground. Um, yeah. And then even if you widen the screen to the wide angle, I think I posted a picture, or maybe it was on a story, of skunk cabbage, and it was at the base of a tulip tree. And I flipped my camera down, put it on wide angle, and it literally took a picture of both the skunk cabbage, which was really low to the base, and all the way up the tulip tree. And you know how big those tulip trees are, massive. And this was a massive tulip tree. So I was able to kind of capture that. And I'm trying to think how I figured that out, or maybe I probably saw it on social media somewhere. But yeah, it's really cool. So that's why I thought I would try that with the snake, because then you don't have to get your eye right down to the ground with your camera. But yeah, as far as my macro lens, I'm using the Sigma 105 millimeter 2.8 for my macro. I love it. It's great. Yeah, I have nothing bad to say about it. It's great.
105 2.8. Is that what you said?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, it does beautiful work. But
Yeah.
as
I would love
photographers,
to. I should give out a shout out to my friend Andrew, who recently told me that my camera stacks images. Now I don't stack images, mostly because my post processing won't allow me to do it. My computer is ancient, so I literally just put my one image. So I'm always really trying to get that eye in sharp focus. If the eye's not in focus, forget it. Maybe sometimes you can get away with Instagram on the those little images there, but mostly, yeah. But I didn't know that my camera could stack images, or it has a stacking capability. I don't know. I'm not technical. I just shoot, and what works works.
While you're mentioning that, what gear? Let's remind everybody what system you're shooting again.
The D850, my battleship.
I
Yeah,
remembered that, and that's why I wanted to
yeah,
bring it up, because I
yeah.
think it's
I know,
awesome that you're still
the
shooting that
machine
body.
gun.
It is an incredible camera.
Yeah,
I,
I'm gonna shoot it. I'm gonna shoot with it till it dies.
Mm-hmm. Good for you.
it's phenomenal. It's one of the best DSLRs ever, and I have a massive library of images from it that I will market forever. There's nothing wrong with the D850. I wish I'd kept it. It was wrong to sell the D850 in the 2-5 for what I got for it. Just to have as gear for somebody's coming along on a trip and wants to play, right?
Right.
It was such a great kit, and nothing negative to say. It's a great camera, great colors.
Mm-hmm.
Sensor still the same size as what I'm using, right?
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, it does make a noise.
It sure does. It's not. It's hard to handle with waterfowl. That's for sure. Unless you shoot in a loud area where there's other noise, they don't hear the shutter. That was my trick.
It does have a distinct shutter. Most people, I to this day, I'll hear one go off and go, "Oh, somebody's shooting an 850."
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
awesome.
No shame.
Nope.
It's amazing though that until recently, the sound of a camera going brr, brr, brr in wildlife photography was just normal. I mean, it wasn't an issue, but now that cameras are silent, it's. I mean, I love the silence, but it was not an issue. It's never registered as a problem, and not that it is a problem, but there is a difference for sensitive species. Sometimes it was good in the sense of a deer was walking by and you go, brr, brr, it would give you an alert look and get a great expression, right?
I'll have to try that one.
It's almost like coughing in public during COVID nowadays. Like the shutter
Oh
going off,
yeah.
because everybody, unless you're shooting a DSLR, you can turn off your shutter. And I still have mine. It's in electronic mode, but it still has the quiet noise that it's making, so I can
Mm-hmm.
hear
Yeah, I was going to say Jason does not shut his off.
it. I was
Doesn't your
gonna.
screen flash a little bit? Like all mine is, I have it on silent, but I know how many frames I'm taking because I can see the screen just flashing as.
Yeah, Mark. No, I mean, I just listen. I turn it off all the way when I'm not around Ron. If I'm
Oh,
shooting with Ron, I'm just kidding.
And then when he knows on video and he cranks that baby back up to mechanical.
No, I'm just teasing.
fun times.
Lisa,
Well,
have you explored into video at all with the macro world? Because that's something not a lot of people
No.
do, and there's good reason because it's tough to maintain focus in those little critters. But
Yeah. I'd like to. I just don't usually carry my tripod with me to balance it. That's the only tricky part. If something's on the ground, I'll try it.
mhm.
But no, I would love to. Some people capture some really incredible things. Yeah, maybe with practice. Maybe I'll add that to my list of things to try this
The
summer
to-do list.
or
Yeah,
now. Yeah, I guess I should say now because they're all the insects are coming out. So
yeah,
that's an endless collection of images,
it
the
is.
insect world,
oh
Mm.
right?
yeah.
You're going to discover new things all the time. And I'm my memory tells me I told this story when we had you on last time, but maybe I didn't. When I was in university, one of the courses was I did a lot of entomology courses as well. I just loved the world of insects because the diversity was mind blowing. And one of them was we had to collect 500 different species, but it was winter semester. So the beginning of the
Oh
term, it was like, this is insane. There's no way. How are we going to get 500 species of insects in the winter? And it wasn't that hard as we started looking, and it's mostly in decaying wood and stuff where they overwinter, right? But the
yeah.
variety of insects is incredible if you start paying attention to what's out there beyond the mosquitoes and black flies and ladybugs. I mean, that we see every day. There's so many amazing different forms of insects. So it's an endless world of discovery, really, for your macro photography. That would be a lot of fun to see you build that collection too.
Hmm. Yeah, and
When,
I think with my macro focus this year, I'm not sure if I talked about this last time, but yeah, capturing the insects with the partner plants, or if there's many partner plants, because I think one thing I'd like to do with my page is to show the beauty of all these like tiny insects, the tiny world, because we're always talking about, oh, plant this, or one thing I did learn in school now is to just leave the leaf litter, just leave it. you know there's so many insects that are overwintering under all those leaves, and yeah, so I think just showing the faces to these insects that we're talking about will maybe encourage people to maybe practice that a little bit more, or just pay attention that, yeah, I've got a garden full of flowers. Maybe there is more to just the flowers in the garden that you don't see. So, and that's one thing I'm teaching the kids too. It's like, yeah, you'll see a flower, but what goes to that flower? What's beside the flower? What's under that pile of leaves? So, yeah, it's so much fun.
yeah, those relationships are a lot to learn about. Very interesting. Can you refresh
Yeah.
our memory? Because we talked about this. I don't know if it was post podcast last time, but the school, weren't you finishing school this spring? What?
So yeah, I can delve into a little bit of that. So I had a 20-year career in healthcare as a nurse, and decided probably about a year and a half ago. I had been kind of toying with the idea of changing jobs, and I had my kids, and yeah, I had lost a really good friend and my mom within 6 months, and it kind of pushed me to just do it. I had toyed about it. I had thought about it for maybe, I'd say 7 years. So I decided to go to college to take horticulture technician because of the plants, and I love plants, and wanted to learn some more about native plants, and wanted to, just because I think I was getting burnt out with healthcare, that I wanted to be better for my kids too, just for my personal experience. So yeah, I went back and did a 2-year program. I just finished 2 weeks ago. Yay! But yeah, I thank you. It was hard going back, mature student, but I loved it. I loved every moment of it, and I got so much out of that program that I'm taking away now that I've learned. Just with soil and sustainability practices, things that I'd never really paid much attention to prior to going in. I thought, I want to learn how to grow plants. But this program just opened up a whole other world to a bunch of different things that I'm interested in. So yeah, I'll tag my kids along too. We're going to learn how to plant stuff, and, it'd be nice. I mentioned this before. We, have a balcony. We don't have a backyard. So I've got a little balcony space that we are going to just try and plant as much as we can and just watch it grow, and they can take care of it as well as I can. We've started growing things inside. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. We gathered up some acorns and planted those in some little pots, and we've got some red oaks growing in my greenhouse right now, and some baby white pines, all kinds of stuff. So the kids get to see that too. So yeah, it's not just all photography, but yeah.
No, that's extremely motivational that you did that, and I mean, making choices for your quality of life, your family's quality of life. And Jason brings this up all the time. We're always learning. Nobody wants to stop learning. And if this is something you're passionate about, that's wonderful that you did this. Perfect timing.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
kudos
that's
to
the
you.
thing.
That's a
Now,
big deal.
yeah, now that I'm done, there's other avenues that I'd like. Ecological restoration I'd like to learn about. Oh my God, so many things. Environmental science. It's like, if I could just make a career of going to school, I would, but obviously can't do that.
Some people do, but I think I love it. I think it's exciting to go learn new things, and it's just the kind of the theme of what I'm hearing from you in this whole podcast has been, how can Lisa transfer her knowledge to her children, to focus on conservation in your own little way, in your own little corner of the world, with your family and your children and your friends, right? I mean, and if you think about it, if all of us were doing that in our own way, that becomes a pretty big impact, So
Yeah. And I think this day and age, we have to start focusing more on that, because it's their generation, and it's kind of scary. So I think about that a lot. Just trying to educate them that, they'll be able to help other people and care for nature, and just love nature, take care of it. We've only got one earth. I don't want to get too preachy, but it's true. When we're gone, they're left, and they got to care for it. So
one earth and one life. So make the most of it.
And one mother.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks, Mom.
Yeah, happy Mother's Day.
Welcome.
Yes, happy Mother's Day.
And you look at a lot of the, we say the next generation, and everybody says that and shakes their head. And I'm sure our parents and grandparents did the same thing. This next generation, oh boy, what are we going to do? But you look at a lot of these young photographers that are coming up now, and they had the same upbringing that you're providing for your boys. And I think that, that is a good indication that there's people like you out there, and many, many others. I know that. We just happen to have you on this year, Lisa, and to help us celebrate. But so many that are doing it the right way and providing the curiosity that we need to provide moving forward. And I just applaud you and and the others out there that have done the same thing, and applaud these young photographers that are kind of taking the bull by the horn and
Absolutely.
showing us all what we're capable of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you.
So many people live with fear and anxiety now in our time. And what Lisa's doing by taking her boys out on planet Earth, wherever she's traveling, near or far, that way they learn that it's not to be afraid of. They're not afraid of snakes. They're not afraid of whatever they encounter. It's exploring. And there's so much of this
Mm-hmm.
planet to explore that it broadens our perspective and personalities, whereas fear, it inhibits us. And what you're teaching is an outgoing, ambitious, confident growth. And that's, I think, such an important character, backbone of humanity, that as an amazing mother, you're providing for your children, and by exploring with them. I think that
Mm-hmm.
that is priceless for their future, wherever their paths lead them in life, whether it's photography or not. The
Mm-hmm.
confidence to know they can go and explore and open doors is priceless. And to spin it quickly on a nature side for Mother's Day too, and some people know it, but not all do, that mothers lead the way. In an ungulate world, when there's a harem of elk or caribou, it's the lead female that decides where they're going to be that day. It's not the male, and the lead female takes them to the food source and to their sleeping area, and the harem and the group follow. And that's just during mating season. I mean, they're separate the rest of the year, but those lead females teach the paths and the safety places and where they find food and how to respond to various stimuli, predators, etc. They nurture the young, and what you're doing with your boys is so timely, and I think such a great message for people out there listening who have kids or grandkids. Gives us that opportunity too, right? If our children are busy and there's time to take our grandson or daughter on an adventure, a canoe trip, on a photography trip, those are the things they remember. There's I had a few young people during my career as a wildlife photographer that I took on adventures, and I could see the growth in them from the beginning of an adventure to the end, and what that meant, and the confidence it instilled just to camp in the backcountry for a week and to have these encounters and survive on their own. It instills confidence that in our day and age, I think, is really important. And good nature, right? I mean, you're connecting with nature, you're
Mm-hmm.
grounded. There are all the elements that I think are so important. That Lisa, you're doing wonderfully with your kids. And for anybody listening, seriously, check out Lisa's Instagram pages. Her photography is absolutely wonderful and varied in content, and it's been a joy to hear more of what you have going on. And is there anything else that you want to talk about before we sign off on our podcast? Because we're
Yeah.
hitting an hour.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to thank you for that. That's a nice reminder. I think being a mother, sometimes you're always questioning the things that, am I doing this right? Or am I giving them lots of opportunities? Your mind just never stops. I wake up in the middle of the night and think, oh, yeah, what about this that happened during the day? So, yeah, I really appreciate that. And yeah, I just wanted to thank you and Jason and Ron for having me again for Mother's Day.
It was our
Yeah,
honor.
thank you.
Thank you for being on. It's been wonderful, Lisa. Thank you, and continue to follow along on your journey of photography and motherhood, and watching your Instagram pages. And again, I love the perspectives that you capture with your photography and the
Thank
varied
you.
compositions. So I
Yeah, thank you.
sharing that with your kids, and I'm looking forward. I can having been there in one person's lifetime, with my kids, son and daughter growing up, you have so much fun ahead of you, they're just starting to, they'll see more and more each year, and you can explore more with them. That's tremendous. Maybe we'll touch base down the road, but definitely follow along. So happy Mother's Day to everybody out there. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Beyond the Wild podcast. Enjoy springtime, guys. Always a pleasure to see your smiles. Ron, I hope you're feeling better, brother, and we'll touch base again soon. Take care, everybody. Enjoy. Peace.
And that's a wrap for another episode of Beyond the Wild podcast. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Pictureline.com, your online source for everything photography, and Canon USA.